GRL Link Joker players can finally rejoice because Messiah is here.
Stand up! Vanguard!
Hey Cardfighters, welcome back to another set breakdown of the Heroic Evolution, and today we're gonna jump right into the new Link Joker cards because they got some very interesting support with the release of the new Messiah cards, as well as some upgraded version for Link Joker in general, and interesting enough, they even got some support cards for Cyber Dragon. So without further ado, let's see what all these new cards have in store for us and see how Link Joker might change for the upcoming meta. We start off with the reprint of the triggers. Again, I only give them 1 star as they are just simple reprints. They aren't new, they aren't changing anything, and we had them for enough chances already, so let's move on. However, just like Kagero, they also got a 3rd crit trigger, and this one I'm gonna give 3 stars as just like Kagero, it opens up a lot more deck building options and a lot more strategies are now possible and viable. So overall, great card. But sadly, just like Kagero, they got another starter. This time it is Neo Messiah. It is another reprint of the generic starter with only an alternative art. So again, 1 star. We got plenty. Link Joker also got the new grade 1 drop PG, and for them it's Iron Cane of Forbidden, Suppression, Ilinvert, and again I'm gonna give it 3 stars as it just opened up another way of deck building with the combination of the new 3rd crit, and you might still want to run some PGs. This is an excellent upgraded version of the normal grade 1 PG. Likewise, they also got the new grade 1 Vanilla Interceptor, and for them it's Blow Monk of the Twin Feet, and also for them I'm gonna give them 3 stars as it does synergize what Link Joker wants to do, as they don't really have a great early game. This allows them to do that, and in the case of Deleters, it synergizes really well with another grade 1 that can become a 12k booster, so together it's a 20k column. But also it synergizes a little bit with Brand, as Brand doesn't really have a good early game as well as good defense capabilities. So with this grade 1 in that deck, they might increase their defense capabilities a little bit better, so they might keep in the game a little bit longer so the opponent can hit more triggers for them to win the game. They also got the grade 2 new vanilla, and for them it's Metrial Fang. Again, this isn't a great card even for Link Joker. It doesn't synergize with anything in particular, so I'm gonna give it 1 star as it isn't really that great. Now for the generic stuff, we start off with this grade 3 Deep Scorpius, and it scales auto and Vanguard circle when placed, costs counter +1, soul +1, choose one of your opponent's rearguards with the highest grade among them, bind it face down, and you draw the same number of cards as the grade of that unit. So it can be potentially a draw 2, draw 3, and it binds your opponent's rearguard. That should have been a very powerful skill. However, it's on a very terrible card because 1, it's on a grade 3 without a force marker, 2, it's a Vanguard on play skill, and 3, it's in Link Joker, so it doesn't really make any sense. It could have been a very good card if it was on the rearguard circle as well, because the problem now is you actually want to write this as your first grade 3, but your opponent is probably not gonna call a lot of rearguards when they know you're gonna bind them anyways, so they might not even have anything, and maybe only a grade 1, and maybe in some scenarios a grade 2, but even then, is that really what you want? Because you're lacking on your force marker, you're probably not on a good grade 3 that synergizes with the rest of your deck. So overall, I'm gonna give it 2 stars as its skill can be very good in some build, but in general, you're probably not gonna run the cards in most builds. Now we also got this grade 2 that is Blast Monk of the Thundering Foot. Its skill is auto and Vanguard the rearguard circle. When it attacks a Vanguard, cost counter +1, choose one of your opponent's rearguards and bind it face down. If you choose a grade 2 or greater, soul charge 1. This is an excellent card. Not only is it an on attack counter +1 bind something, so you have full control of binding anything whatsoever, and it does work on a Vanguard as well as rearguard circles, so ideal for early game as well. But also if you're choosing a grade 2 or greater, so basically a powerful card, then you can soul charge 1. And soul is actually what Link Joker is lacking right now, as a lot of these new cards are going to use a lot of soul, but also older cards did use quite some soul with the more powerful skills. So this synergized quite well for changing your resources from a counterblast to a soul blast. So overall 4 stars, as it is a very good early game card, as well synergizes with the resources that Link Joker is lacking and is needing. Then next we got a very interesting retrain of the old Ember clone, and that is Sunset Edge Duskblade. And its skill is auto rearguard circle. When the attack is boosted hits a Vanguard, cost counterblast 1, choose one of your opponent's rearguards and bind it face down. If your Vanguard is a grade 3 or greater, draw a card. So it's a hit ability that for 1 counterblast can bind something as well as drawing. This is a very powerful skill in its own right. But if we combine it with the Deleter grade 2 that also has the on-hit Soul Blast bind something, then you can see some really powerful combination, as you have a very powerful on-hit column that basically for a Counterblast and a Soul Blast can bind 2 cards and draw 1. Or if your opponent only has 1 rearguard, you can Counterblast first, bind it, then draw, and then Soul Blast and draw another card. So you can change it up in the way that you want to have a lot of draw power or a lot of bind power. So overall I'm going to give it 5 stars. It's a very versatile unit. It gives a lot of good pressure early game as well as mid to late game, and it synergizes with some interesting cards to make it very deadly in most scenarios. We also got some new Cyber Dragon support, and we're going to kick this off with the new grade 1 that is Spinodal Dragon, and his first skill is act on rearguard circle, cost Soul Blast 1, and retire this unit. Choose one of your opponent's rearguards and bind it face down. So for a trade-off and a Soul Blast, you can bind one of your opponent's units. It's not the greatest card, but it can do some work. But then we also have the second skill that is auto. When it retired from the rearguard circle, during your turn, one of your Vanguards gets plus 5k power until the end of turn. So basically when you sack this one off, you can also give your Vanguard then 5k power. So that makes the first skill a little bit better as you get more value out of that retiring itself from the field. But it does also synergize with the leaders in the sense that with Given, you can sack this and then give your Vanguard a plus 5k as well. So there are some synergies with other units that are going to sacrifice your unit to get some value out of them. So in that sense, we're going to give it 3 stars as it might have some potential with the future. As well, it does synergize with the other grade 1 for Cyber Dragon that can give it a little bit more power. So overall, it's a very good addition for that sub-archetype. Then we also got a grade 2 that's very similar, and that's Binodal Dragon, and its first skill is act on rearguard circle, cost Soul Blast 1, and retire this unit and draw a card. So instead of binding something from your opponent, you now draw something. So in cases that your opponent isn't calling anything, you get some value out of this grade 2 just by sacking and on basically fetching a new card. And its sacrifice skill is auto. When it's retired from the rearguard circle during your turn, cost Counterblast 1, and until the end of turn, your opponent would call cards from the hand to the guardian circle. For the battles that your Vanguard attacked, he or she must call 2 or more at the same time. So in this case, it doesn't give 5k power, but it gives the Battle Door a guard restrict for a counterblast. So in his case, it's a Soul Blast, Counterblast, draw 1, and give the Battle Door effect against your Vanguard. Again, it synergizes with Given because Given can sacrifice it, and then you can give the Battle Door effect to your Deleter Vanguard. Can be very potent, especially if you use it before the first attack, so your Vanguard is attacking twice, maybe 3 times with the Battle Door effect. Very similar to what we've seen with The End for the Kagero. So it can be very powerful in that sense. So for that, I'm going to give it 3 stars. It's overall a pretty decent card. It's not the most powerful card, but it does some legwork, and it synergizes a little bit with Cyber Dragons again, so it can work for that archetype as well. Then we finish off the Cyber Dragon support. It's with this grade 3 that is Topological Dragon, and its skill is auto Vanguard circle. When it attacks, retire 2 rear guards, and this unit gets power plus 5k and critical plus 1 until the end of turn. So basically, you want to sack the grade 1 and the grade 2 to give this unit a plus 10k, a crit, and basically the Battle Door skill for a counterblast, because you need the counterblast for the grade 2 skill. And then, because it has a force marker, it can potentially be a 33k attacker with the crit and the Battle Door skill. However, it's not a great card because it only works on a Vanguard circle. You need to sacrifice 2 rearguards for only the plus 5 and the crit. That's not a lot of value for going -2. And you only get the upside if you sacrifice those 2 specific units. And you can only sacrifice double the grade 1 to get more power, but double sacking the grade 2 doesn't give you anything out of it. So Overall, I don't think this is a great card. Only give it 1 star as it doesn't really help the archetype at all, and even for Link Joker it doesn't really do anything so much. So hopefully we get some better Cyber Dragon Great Freeze, because this isn't it. Now we get to the Messiah support, and there is a lot of Messiah support as well as some lock support, and we'll kick it off with this great one that is Calderon Wing, and its skill is act on rearguard circle if Harmonics Messiah is on the Vanguard circle or rearguard circle, or if you have a locked card, cast Soulless 1 and lock this unit and countercharge 1. So basically we have a countercharge on demand that turns Soul Blast into Counterblast. And it locks itself. It might sound bad, but actually that's a really good upside as it does synergize with a lot of other skills. So overall, it's a pretty decent card and it can work some magic for Messiah. So I'm gonna give it 3 stars as it is a good utility option for the deck. Then next we got this grade 2, that's Envelop Panther, and its skill is auto on rearguard circle. When it attacks, if you have a locked card, cast Soul Blast 1, and this unit and one of your Vanguards get power plus 10k until the end of turn. So for a Soul Blast, you give this one 10k and the Vanguard plus 10k. That isn't great because we use a lot of Soul Blast, and overall it doesn't synergize really what Messiah wants to do. It also is depending on other cards to make lock cards on the field already accessible, so you can use its skill. And I don't think this is a good addition whatsoever, so I'm going to give it 1 star as it probably will never be used in anybody's deck. Then a card that will be used in anybody's deck, that is Destiny Dealer, and that's because of its 2 skills. Its first one is Auto Vanguard Circle. When placed, look at the top card of your deck and put it on rearguard circle as locked. So you basically write this and get a free plus. Yes, it's only from the top deck, and yes, you can have no access for that turn, but next turn you can unlock it and you can use it. It's basically a free plus, and that's pretty big, especially if you go first, because you cannot attack with it anyway, so you don't mind it then putting lock on the field, because it basically is a delayed draw in that sense. So overall, pretty decent skill. Then we got the second skill, and that's act on rearguard circle. Once per turn, cast Soul Blast 1, look at the top card of your deck and put it on the rearguard circle's lock card. So basically the same as the Vanguard skill, but now you can also use it on the rearguard circle, but it costs a Soul Blast. Overall, very powerful skill. It synergizes a lot with the deck. It gives some pluses, so I'm gonna give it 5 stars as this is insanely strong for Messiah. Then next up, we've got a great one that synergizes with the locking mechanic, and that's Black Star of Augmentation, Phil Rouser, and its skill is on a rearguard circle. When your lock card is put or when your card is locked, this unit gets power plus 5k until the end of turn. So basically, when something is locked, either way by putting it directly from your deck or from your hand, or locked by using a skill like Calderon Wing, then this unit gets extra power and it stacks. So this can be a very powerful attacker, but in most cases probably a booster, and that's very strong. And this basically enables Messiah to maybe go for Force 2, as they have some good powerful boosters and can still make some good columns even though they're not getting the power for Force 1. So overall, this card is a solid 4 stars for me, as it does synergize really well with everything that the deck does, and it gets some free advantage for basically doing other skills that help the engine anyway. Then next, we've got this grade 2, that's Lady Battler of the Gravity Well, and her skill is auto rearguard circle. When it attacks, cast Soul Blast 1 and discard a card from your hand. Look at the top card of your deck, put it on the rearguard circle as locked, and draw a card. So for discard and Soul Blast, you go +2 because you get a rearguard locked and then you draw again. That's pretty strong, and it also synergizes with Messiah as it is a on-attack lock. So as we're gonna see with Messiah, you can have some multi-attack shenanigans as you can lock your entire front row and then unlock it and then go again with multiple attacks. And at the same time, by putting more locked cards on the field, you increase the grade 1 with more power, but also with Messiah, you can then up the amount of cards you're gonna draw. So overall, this is a very solid combo extender and attacker for the deck, and it's very good. And I'm gonna give it 4 stars, basically for the synergy that it does with the Messiah deck. Very solid. Then we also got another very interesting grade 2, and that's Remarkable Burst Monk, and its skill is auto rearguard circle. When it is unlocked, cast Counterblast 1, reveal the top card of your deck, put it into your hand. And if it is a grade 3, then cast, discard 2 cards from your hand, and stand your Vanguard. So basically when it's unlocked, you get a +1, but your opponent is going to see that +1, and if it's grade 3, you can restand your Vanguard. That is a pretty solid skill, and it's very interesting that it doesn't state the condition how it is unlocked, so when it's unlocked at the end of your turn, you can use the skill to draw one. Yeah, you can stay. It doesn't work by setting your Vanguard to attack because it's the end of your turn. But it has some synergy with that. It is the counterblast for a draw is already solid in itself, but then the fact that it can potentially for an RNG reset your Vanguard makes it a really powerful skill. But because it's completely RNG, I'm just going to give it 3 stars as it is a solid drawer. But however, it shows information to your opponent because they know what you're drawing. So that is a little bit of a downer of this card. Then we've got the support grade 3 for Messiah, and that is Obstruction Claw, Ghastly Nil. First of its skill is continuous on Vanguard to rearguard circle. During your turn, this unit gets power plus 5k for each of your locked cards. So it's somewhat synergized with the grade 1 that gets a lot of power for keep putting cards locked onto the field. This one has just a continuous skill that for the amount it gets that's power. And then it also got the second skill, that's Auto on Vanguard to rearguard circle. When it attacks, costs Soulless 1, and you may put a card from your hand onto your rearguard circle as locked if you put draw a card. So again, it will activate your grade 1 by putting it locked onto the field, and then you draw a card. What's great about this is, unlike the others that putting a card from the top locked onto the field, you now have full control of what is going to be put locked onto the field. So you might not accidentally put a trigger locked onto the field, and now you have a pretty dead card onto the field. This one gives you full control. That makes it a very solid attacker as well as a solid first Vanguard right target, as you don't want to ride Messiah as your main Vanguard first. And you're going to see that right now as we're going to jump right into Messiah. But before that, I'm going to rate this card 4 stars. As I just stated, it's a solid attacker, defender, synergies with the deck. It's just a solid card for Messiah in general. So, Harmonics Messiah, the big boss monster of the deck and the main VR for this Link Joker support. It got 2 very interesting skills and overall very powerful skills. His first one is Auto Vanguard Circle. When it attacks, search your deck for up to 1 card, put it onto the rearguard circle as a lock card, and shuffle your deck. So you can tutor any type of card and put it locked into the field. So it can be the grade 2 that when it is unlocked, you can resend your Vanguard. It can also be the grade 2 Lady Battler that allows you to put more lock cards into the field. It can also be the grade 1 that will get more power when stuff is locked. Basically, any card that you're missing for your combo, you can put it onto the field and then go nuts. But what's the point of all these locking if you cannot attack with it? Well, that's its second skill for, as its second skill is Auto Vanguard Circle. Once per turn, at the end of the battle that it attacked, if your soul has a grade 3 or greater card, cost counterblast 1 and discard a card from your hand. Choose any number of any fighters, lock cards, unlock them, draw the same number of cards, and 2 rearguards in your front row get power plus 15k until the end of turn. So for a counterblast and a discard, you unlock your entire field and you draw that amount of cards, even if you unlock some of your opponent's field. Currently we cannot do that in standard, but maybe with future support that will be a possibility. And then also the front row units get plus 15k, those 2 rearguards. That's pretty nuts if you combine it with Force 1, as that's already maybe plus 25k on both units. But also if you look at Force 2, those rearguards might all have extra crits. So this card tutors. It enables multi-attack because you can first attack with the rearguards, then lock them, then use attack with this one, unlock them, and attack once again with them. But also it gives them power and you draw a lot. For only a counterblast and a discard. And that's pretty nuts, and it's definitely a 5-star card in my mind, in the fact that it does so many things and synergized with a lot of different aspects of the support, as well as the different markers that you can go for the Force 1 for just multi-attack with high numbers, or go for Force 2, as soon as you're multi-attacking a lot, they can generate a lot of power, so putting crits on them might be also the way to go, depending on how the game is going. The only downside of this card is that it's very late game, as its second skill, where all its value lies, is just on the second ride. And most of Messiah's aggressive turns and value plays are from grade 3 and onward, so your early game might not be that great. So that's maybe where the grade 1 with the intercept might come into play. So overall, very interesting stuff for Link Joker. We saw a lot of different support, general stuff with a lot of binding and all kinds of mechanics, as well as the new vanilla cards. But we also saw, oddly enough, some small support for Cyber Dragons, but the main bulk of this series went towards the new Messiah support, and these cards with the self-locking mechanic looking very interesting in my opinion. The way that you can synergize and combo off and do some very interesting plays and combine them with your different force markers can make the deck very fun and interesting, as well as very unique in their own sense, and probably will be one of the decks that you can play for longer periods of time without making it feeling dull, because there are so many things you can do. Also, that tutor effect from Messiah makes it possible to just run very awkward or weird tech cards at a 1 or a 2 off, because you can just search them out. That's what the card makes them really incredible in my opinion. But overall, that's about everything for the Link Joker support. Let me know in the comments down below what you think of the new support for Link Joker. Are you excited for the general stuff? Maybe for the new Messiah support? Maybe you're a fan of the Cyber Dragons? It's not a lot, but at least they got something this time. Let me know all your thoughts and opinions in the comments down below, and let this discussion going. As always, I want to thank my Patreon supporters over at Patreon for making this video possible, as well as the rest of the content on the channel. If you do want to support the channel, then head over to patreon.com/VanguardInsider and become a Patreon today. But with that said, I'm Mr. Time Leap, and I see you guys in the next one.